Good evening and welcome to Going for Two. This is the only YouTube podcast in human recorded history to feature a male and female host drinking our way through the important topics of the day, as long as they touch the football world, but not in that way. I am Zach Law, and this is Sharona Stormborn, mother of tabbies, crusher, bottles, and consumer of coriander in beer.
I know. I don't even know me anymore.
So, sure, buddy, what you got this week in beer?
Well, two things. I usually drink out of a glass, as you guys know, and I forgot to grab one, and Zach wouldn't let me run get one. And his frou-frou beer drinking ways have rubbed off on me. I am drinking a Dogfish Head. Oh, I'm going to mispronounce it. Phil told me how to pronounce Namaste.
You got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! So, and it does. It has lemon and coriander and I don't know, all kinds of frou-frou stuff in it. But it's nice. It's good.
Before we get too deep into it, let's introduce our guest tonight. We have Phil Alexander, New Yorker, who could pull off the Ryan Fitzpatrick beard if he wanted to, but he chooses not to. That is control. And he is staff writer with Football Guy. So hello, Phil. And I gotta know about this. Was it Beermore you have behind you?
Yeah, I call it Mount Beermore back there. I've been working on it for a couple of months, and it's just a bunch of my favorites in the back. Mostly IPAs. I'm an IPA drinker. I know that you're more of a stout and porter guy, Zach.
Yeah, and the brown ale. And okay, so what are you drinking tonight? Let's get that out of the way.
Tonight I've got Hetty Topper. It's
of course, yeah, Vermont's
only
only, right?
beer for a lot of people, but I was just up in Burlington, Vermont, where they're based a couple weeks back, so I brought back a nice stash.
Very awesome.
You got good stuff, and there's one like the Maine Brewing Company or something. I've heard a lot of. Well, there's a lot of good beer everywhere. I mean, shoot.
Yeah,
New
up that
York's
way.
growing.
I've had beer from the Maine Brewing Company.
Yeah, I've never had a bad beer from them, that's for sure.
Okay, and we're gonna attempt something here. We'll see how it goes. I am drinking. Because Sharona makes fun of me, I always get a special beer. This is the Reverend from Avery, which is a quad, which is about as deep and dark as you can get. Now, I will also bring on, for a special cameo appearance, the Trophy Duaffle, which is the trophy from my local fantasy league that I've recently left, but I had to get it engraved, so you're probably going to get like a blinding light from my light, sorry.
What does it say? I can't read it.
But it does show, let's see if I can do this. Ooh, not really.
Yeah.
Anyway, the last name on there is Robert OBL Law, which is my dad. So he is the last champion of the league. So
Okay.
I don't know if this is a health good idea, but the tradition used to be in our league is the champion, hi Don, the champion of the awful.
Hi, Don.
The previous champion would put a drink in the trophy that the new champion would have to drink. Well, one year I think someone put prune juice for my dad because my dad's old. But we're gonna try this. I'm not gonna put much in there. I'm gonna try a little bit. I'm gonna drink out of the trophy for the last time.
Aww.
You gotta pour it the right way. Okay, here we go.
Breaking up is hard to do. Oh, look at that.
There we go.
Toga.
Like trophy that was originally created in 2001. So yeah. Anyway, so let's get on to the very big show. I thought of doing like a beer Mountain Rushmore because last week we did a little like I think most memorable like sports events we ever had, but the whole like I think for each of us it'd be very hard for us to pick like our 4 favorite beers. Like we just have to just grab 4, like out of a hat, out of a bunch. So we will not go there, but let's talk with Phil here. So when did you get started with fantasy football writing?
I guess it was about 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago maybe, and I guess I got my start. I mean, when I started playing fantasy football back in college, it was pretty clear that I was that guy that cared more about it than everybody else. And I think that when you're in a 12-team league, pretty much any 12-team league, you've got your 2 guys that care more about it than anybody else, and then you've got your 8 guys that care about it, but other things are more important. And then the 2 guys that show up for the draft, and never show up again. And I was definitely one of those two guys that cared more about it than anybody else. And I had a buddy that he was doing some work for, I want to say it was like Mock Draft Inc. or some site like that. And he linked up with a guy who was starting up a fantasy sports company called The War Room, which is where I got my start. And, me and him would be going back and forth on the message board in our league. And he was like, hey, I've got this opportunity. Have you ever thought about writing? And I mean, I did, but like at that time, fantasy sports writing didn't seem like a very attainable thing. It was like ESPN and CBS, and who's ever going to end up there writing about fantasy sports except for the guys who already were. So he got me into that, and I started writing for them. It was called The War Room, since defunct. It was a really cool site, and they kind of developed into a fantasy sports aggregator, sort of like Fantasy Rundown is right now. Only it had like a social media element to it, and once they started doing that, I stopped writing, and I got put onto all these sites that they were aggregating, smaller sites that I wouldn't have otherwise known, like the Fake Football and even Football.com, Zach, that I know that you did some work for way back when, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sites like that. RotoViz and all these great sites that were doing all this great work, and we were aggregating them, through this War Room platform, and I got to know some of the guys that own those sites, and I found that I missed writing about it, after a couple of months, so I just kept my eyes open, and I saw on Twitter, because it was at about that time I got into Twitter, because that was part of the whole thing. The War Room was aggregating tweets of some of the best writers, and I saw the Fake Football put out, a help wanted tweet, basically. Responded to that, and Chet Gresham and Jeff Brubach, who owned the Fake Football, they liked the sample. I started writing for them, and then once I started doing that, I was like, I wonder how far I could take it, and I kept my eyes open, and JJ Zachariason from Numberfire put out a similar tweet. I answered that, started writing for them. And then Sigmund Bloom, after about another year or so, put out a similar tweet, and I answered it, and he liked my stuff, and him and Matt Waldman actually looked over my application, and those are two guys that I respect tremendously, and I was fortunate enough that they liked what I wrote, and it's been like, this is going to be my third year now for Football Guys.
So is there any kind of like hazing ritual involved, or do you have to get a tattoo to be in there? And have you been on the Vegas trip with the Football Guys?
Yeah, I would say that the closest thing that there is to hazing is on the Vegas trip. If you go out, with some of the more senior guys, you're definitely the guy that's that's buying first round. But I have been on the Vegas trip. Last year was my first year. I stupidly sat out the first year. I really wish I hadn't. But now that I've been once and I've seen what it's all about, there's no way I'm going to miss that again for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I'd say that had to be a pretty good one. Although you have to watch out for the basketball game, or when they start playing like poker. I don't know. They got some serious minds there.
Yeah, like it was definitely my my kind of like what the hell am I doing here moment, and I kind of saw myself like getting to Vegas at the Vegas airport. You show up to the house and there's like David Dodds and Sigmund Bloom, and like you're hearing all the voices from the Audible, Matt Waldman and Gene Bramall, just kind of saying regular things, and it was really, really weird, really bizarre, and just a really cool experience, kind of like that, wow, I made it somewhere moment,
Yeah, and you don't get a lot of. Many of the people, I'd say, being on Football Guys definitely qualifies as you made it. But to have that kind of get together. Anytime I've only done a few like tweet ups with people in town. It's been a lot of fun to do that, just to kind of hang out, because you know the lingo, and you have to worry about, am I talking about football too much? No, you're not talking about football too much.
Well, it's always nice to put a face with them. a name too, and meet the people that you interact with on social media or message boards, whatever.
Yes, no doubt about it. That was the coolest part, because we spend so much time during the year on email chains and going back and forth, all these different group projects that we do, and you feel like you know the people, and then you actually meet them, and they're
Yeah.
awesome, and it was really like like I come from a college fraternity years and years and years ago, and it totally reminded me of that, only much more tame because we're all grown men.
So when you started with football, guys, what was your kind of beat, and what's your kind of focus now?
I started there, kind of as a generalist, and I still do, all sorts of stuff from rankings to, MFL 10 articles to articles about kind of like whatever I'm thinking about that week or that month or whatever. But during the season, for as long as I've been with Football Guys, I've been doing DFS. So I write a DraftKings article the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's definitely exploded. And did they change the law in New York? Are you actually allowed to play DFS again?
Well, we're waiting on Governor Cuomo to actually sign the bill. We got some good news last Friday, which was kind of wild. I never thought I'd be tuned in online to a hearing in the New York Senate, and watching them legislate. But it was pretty fascinating, pretty frustrating actually to watch a bunch of people that kind of had no idea what they were talking about make a decision on the future of fantasy sports in the state. But we had some good assemblymen. The one I'm proud to say from my county on Long Island really stood up for DFS, and he plays, so he knew what he was talking about. And he helped get the legislation passed, and we're just waiting now for the governor to sign it into law, so I could start playing CFL DFS.
There you go. Yeah, watching our legislators make the sausage, so to speak, is. I worked at the legislature here where I live, and yeah, it's a scary thing.
So how was you got to have another meetup last week? How was FTSA?
I didn't actually attend the conference, so I really have no input there. It was kind of, the type of thing where it's during 2 work days, so it's kind of tough to attend. And then they actually make it like pretty wildly expensive if you want to just buy a ticket, and you're not kind of invited. So I sat that one out. But every time that Joe Bryant comes to town, he looks up all of the football guys in the New York area and he takes us out. So we went to a Point Break themed bar, which was a really unique experience.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. I thought it would be a little bit more over the top. It was kind of just a regular old bar with some surfboards and some dead presidents masks hanging on the wall. Bodie Burger on the menu, so can't really complain. So it was cool, but it was good.
What was it composed of? I have to know.
The burger, it was literally like a bacon cheeseburger with 0 vegetables, like no lettuce, no
Okay.
tomato.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, just a plain old bacon cheeseburger. But, cool atmosphere to meet up with some guys. There was like 9 of us there, and some, some people that I look up to a lot. Chase Stewart from, football perspective, and Jason Wood, who's a legendary football guy. So really cool to pick their brains and, just kind of go out and have some beers with them.
Well, I really think the key to all these conferences, no matter what it is the evening stuff. So you get to kind of hang out with people and then maybe not worry about the industry as much and just have a good time.
Right.
So I think that's what it's all about. So the football guys, like their writer bench is really deep, but it seems like they don't get a ton of people doing their podcasts. So do you want to get involved in the Audible, and do you have to like listen to more Anthrax to get on Cecil's good side?
Do I want to get involved? I don't know. Like this is literally the first podcast type thing I've done since I entered into the industry for whatever reason. So I don't know. how good of a guest I'd make on the Audible next
Well,
to.
we're happy to pop your podcast cherry.
First time.
I really do appreciate
Have a
it.
beer first. Good idea.
Thank you. No, I wanted to thank you guys. I mean, I have no
Oh, we
idea
so
why.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I have no idea why anybody would be interested enough to hear what I have to say, but you know, Sigmund and Cecil, they're a couple of deep thinkers, and I'm afraid that I would be so intimidated on something like the Audible that I wouldn't even know what to say or do. I'd be a deer in the headlights.
You would be fine. It would be wonderful. I think you would do a great job. Sig he's so personable and so easy to talk to. He really is. I've had him on. Well, he's been on this show, and I've had him on several of my podcasts, and he's awesome.
Without question.
He and Sharona having that ex-lawyer thing going. You definitely have a bond right there. You're like, oh, you've been through law school? Okay.
Yeah. It's like going through, trial by fire kind of thing. Yeah. We both say that we're recovering attorneys, and so, yeah.
So we have to, because you're a Jets guy, we have to throw in some Jets questions. So with
Yes.
Ryan Fitzpatrick,
I was going to ask if you were a Jets guy.
is it a matter of when on this deal, or are we looking at a potential Geno Smith opening week start?
Man, I don't know. Like I've been saying all along that there's no way that it doesn't get done with Fitzpatrick, and in my heart of hearts, I really hope it gets done. But I gotta say, like last year, I was a little bit curious about what would happen with Geno in the spread offense, with Chan calling the plays. It was like a little bit more similar to what was going on with him when he was in college, and with the weapons that the Jets have, and they do have Marshall, Decker, Forte, good offensive skill players. I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of wonder what's going to happen with Geno Smith. I mean, I'm not ruling out that he wouldn't be as good as Fitzpatrick was last season, even though I'm fully aware of just how wrong things could go with him quarterbacking your team. But I don't know. I do hope it gets done because I think the Jets could contend. I think they could at least make the playoffs and make things interesting. So,
Is Matt Sims still on the roster?
I don't think so. I think
UT.
I had to ask, right?
The last of the Sims, I hope.
Well, see.
There's another generation, I'm sure, coming
I'm
up.
using my UT koozie. Yeah, anyway. I'll look it up real quick because I'm curious.
You've been doing some MFL 10s. Like, there are going to be thousands of MFL 10 players who drafted Ryan Fitzpatrick like in the 18th round are going to be really pissed if he doesn't sign with the team because quarterback is just so stupid, like, deep. Like, he might be quarterback 25, but last year he had, 30 touchdowns, 4,000 yards.
right.
Did he set a record with the Jets? Not that that was hard to
No,
do, but he did.
not. Oh, that's right. They drafted Christian Hackenberg.
Yeah.
And they've got Bryce Petty.
Well, see, you're set. Never mind. Leverage.
Yeah, I think it was TJ Hernandez from 4 for 4 who said the Twitter reaction when the Jets drafted Hackenberg was similar to like when Ted Ginn would drop one of those wide open bombs from Cam Newton last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was absolutely brutal. And yeah, I hated the Hackenberg pick, but yeah, I'm one of the guys that's been drafting Fitzpatrick late in those MFL 10s, so I do hope for that reason he comes through. And he did set the Jets record for touchdown passes last year.
Possibly, yeah. He gets to play the Titans every year. That helps a lot.
Hey, did you guys hear he went to Harvard?
Never heard
to
of
Harvard. That's I had to think about the moment because a Titans site basically posted like Marcus Mariota's like top 5 plays, and one was where he basically like faked the cornerback out of his shoes for a touchdown when basically the Titans lost like 41-8. So they got that one touchdown against an 8-8 or 9-7 Jets team. Woo, but it's like, oh, that was fun. that was the moment. That seems
Was
like
it a corner? I thought it was their safety, Calvin Pryor.
I mean, it might have been like because it was a wildcat snap to Antonio Andrews who actually threw the passes on the money, but whoever was covering him Didn't expect him to run a pattern, I don't think, because he just slipped and fell down. I mean, it wasn't like he made this crazy move, but yeah, it was. It was one of those things that happens. But the team just signed Matt Forte, and like 2 years ago, I traded my dad Matt Forte in a dynasty league, thinking he's done, and he's just still going at like age 30. So is he the guy this year? Is he gonna just grind it out again?
I don't think that you're going to see like those Chicago Bears 25 to 30 touch games from Forte because the coaching staff really likes Bilal Powell. We saw him come on at the end of last season, and I mean, he was like a championship winner at the end of last year down the stretch for a lot of fantasy teams. Especially in PPR, and he's got a lot of the same things going on as Forte does. They both fit Gailey's offense really well, but I think that you're going to see both of them mixed in, but Forte the definite lead back, and I think he's in an offense and in a system where he could definitely still be like a low-end running back one for fantasy purposes.
Yeah, I was definitely wondering about Bilal Powell because I
Mhm.
drafted him in a dynasty league, and he was just roster fodder. And then the second half of last, he would have those 6, 8 catch weeks. So I was wondering, with Forte being a 3 down guy, it's like, well, are they just going to put Powell in there in the third down, or is he going to get certain series?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the deal with him last year is that I'm just going off of memory now, but those first 3 games of last season, he was getting like 13 to 15 touches per game, like over those first 3 weeks when Chris Ivory was playing really well. And then he busted up his ankle. He was out for a couple of weeks. But once he got back to full health, he was right back to that same workload. And, Ivory was, I guess the season was kind of wearing on him, and Powell had fresh legs, and he looked like a different player. I mean, I don't know. I think Powell's going to see some snaps. I think he's going to be a little bit more than a handcuff, and I think that you'll probably see, like, if Forte being 30-plus years old, if he does actually wear down, like Powell's one of those late-round guys that could probably end up winning your league for you.
Yeah, that's something I'm seeing a lot in fantasy this year is those pass catching backs people are going crazy about, and like Charles Sims and Theo Riddick and guys like that. But Powell, I think people are forgetting about him because of the signing, so you can get him pretty cheap in leagues. I know I took him at least one NFL 10 that I did. So I'm just guessing by your body language that you're not very excited about the backup quarterbacks, assuming that the weird beard gets in there.
Christian Hackenberg can not play. I'm absolutely positive of that. And, Bryce Petty was always a project, and it's going to take a lot more than one season on the bench for him to develop. So, I'm kind of in on Geno if he ends up being the starter. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to taking him as like, especially in those NFL 10 formats, as like a second quarterback or a third quarterback if you're inclined to do that type of thing in that format. I'm on board with Geno.
I might have to consider him. The Scott Fish Bowl is coming up, so that's a league where you do the QB flex, and one of our crazy guys started doing mocks for them. And in one of the mocks I'm doing, I waited and waited and waited on quarterbacks. So right now I have Jared Goff and Mark Sanchez at quarterback.
Yikes.
So Geno Smith might be it. I think it was like the 12th round before I took a quarterback. I was like, damn, someone took Blaine Gabbert? I am screwed. When Blaine Gabbert goes at quarterback, you're going pretty deep.
Yeah, Gabbert's another guy that I don't hate, like, really late, and that definitely in the Scott Fishbowl format, but also, like, real late in MFL 10s. I mean, it's looking at this point like he's the starter over Kaepernick, and if that's the case, you're going to have a lot of pass attempts. You could do worse, Like, he's definitely not going to be like like the worst quarterback in the league.
Way to go, Missouri, since I'm a Missouri grad.
Yeah.
This is
I
a
just
great
can't
this is
even.
a great time for me to ask a Missouri question. So, how much would Sheldon Richardson be worth per year if he were sane?
Whatever the most that you could pay him would possibly be. But man, did he ever go off the rails last year?
They like their crazies. I mean, Mo Wilkerson's not all that sane either. And then they've had well, I like. I mean, I'm not judging. I'm just saying.
You could judge. We like to keep it interesting around here.
I mean, did
Yeah.
he get suspended for, was it a drug suspension? But he had that driving the car fast thing. I feel like he had a few things happening last
I
year.
forgot you guys had picked up Aaron Henderson. That was a nice pickup.
And then
Yeah,
the Jets, they've invested in their defensive line big time, so you're hoping for that kind of payoff.
yeah. I think you're going to see them with a really good defense again, and then the
Well, I'm a big fan of Todd Bowles. I mean, I think that I kept saying, why don't the Titans take a look at him for, head coaching position? I thought that was an outstanding hire.
yeah, definitely had no qualms with him last year. I thought Chan Gailey was a great hire to put on that coaching staff. Really good offensive mind. It worked out last year, and I think it'll work out again. I mean, they get it. There's talent at the skill positions now, which is
Yeah.
something we haven't had since before Rex Ryan took over.
Yeah,
So,
speaking of crazies, what about Rex? Are you enjoying watching him semi-implode up
Oh,
in
yeah.
Buffalo?
I mean, I'll always have a soft spot for Rex Ryan because of those 2 years that he
Yeah.
took us pretty deep into the playoffs, and
Yeah.
before that the Jets hadn't been there. So I was kind of like a Rex truther, and I didn't want to admit what was happening right before my eyes for years was actually the case. So more power to Rex. I mean, I hope he gets it going, just not in Buffalo because
Yeah.
can't see them doing well.
It's an interesting division. I like some of the things that Buffalo is doing, and if Rex can, if he can get out of his own way. I mean, he a lot of times he's his own worst enemy, but I don't know how the Rex and Rob coexisting thing is going to work. But they've got some talent. I really like Tyrod Taylor. It's gonna be interesting.
Yep.
So, as a guy who owns a Jake Locker and Chris Johnson jersey, can you admit to owning a Mark Sanchez jersey, or did you avoid that?
The closest that I could come is my daughter, who is now 6 years old. When it came time to buy her a Jets jersey when she was 2, it was a Mark Sanchez jersey.
Aw, poor
Just
little
because
thing.
Just because it was the most readily available Jets jersey in a onesie size, but
You better be careful if he'll try to date her.
Sanchez. Don't forget Sanchez. So, because Football Guys covers a pretty wide swath, do you have like a favorite style of like a fantasy league you like to play, or you just daily is your thing?
Daily is definitely my thing. I minimized the amount of season-long leagues that I played in this year just because I was so engrossed in daily, and I literally just didn't have the time, and there's just so many things that it's like sad but true that I no longer have the patience for, like playing the waiver wire and those types of things. I mean, I'm definitely more of a daily player, but I still I'll always play in a couple of season-long leagues just because it's fun, and that's where I fell in love with fantasy football.
Yeah.
But I've found that I really like best ball leagues because you just like draft and forget. That's just like so great. Like an MFL 10 style league, you're just like, all right, I'm good.
It's
Because
definitely got some appeal. I guess the only reason I don't totally love MFL 10s is because I am absolutely terrible at them. I play in a lot of them.
I feel your pain.
Yeah, but I've got to say, like when I looked at the return on investment last year on the MFL 10s, I was like, oh man, I've got some real work to do this coming season to fix this. So I've been trying and reading some smart people on MFL 10 strategy, and I totally get why I failed last year. It was kind of going all in on a large number of MFL 10s on a single strategy and a group of players, and that's not what you could do if you're looking to play volume in those types of things, because you're going to be wrong, at least 40% of the time, and when that's the case, it's kind of tough. So
Yeah, that was my problem. I invested heavily in the Colts offense last year, like kind of across the board, and it just killed me.
right, and who could have blamed you at that time? I mean, it looked like money, but yeah, and it does again, and at least you could get those guys at a discount this year.
Yeah.
I've been definitely going heavy on the Colts and the Packers in those early drafts, because you seem to be still getting a discount on their skill position players. They're coming off a down year.
Yeah.
You know that historically those offenses are going to be top five, and yeah, that's definitely been one thing I've taken note of, is that those guys, especially like the second and third receivers in those offenses that are going to put up some big weeks,
Right.
they're coming pretty cheap right now.
The leagues that I did the best in last year, people were staying away from Cam Newton and Tyrod Taylor both, and I was like, I believe, and so I was able to get both of those guys really cheap, and it really paid off for me. And they're both top 5 fantasy quarterbacks, depending on what kind of league you play in, and so yeah, that's the fun thing about fantasy. You never know. It's
Yeah.
so much luck, and not having the injury curse, which I always seem to have.
You're right. When Kelvin Benjamin got hurt, Cam Newton's value just cratered. I'm pretty sure the one MFL 10, I think I came in second. I ended up getting him in like the 8th round. But I like the MFL 25. I did one last year, and I came in second. And if you come in second in MFL 10, you get a free MFL 10. But if you come in second in MFL 25, which is $25, you get $50. So you double your money to come in second. And I'm just like, I know that maybe I can beat more people than the average person, but you got to beat 11 people, and that's not easy to do. Especially when you draft and wait and go, I'm avoiding bullets like Neo, like please no injuries. But I have to admit, it's fun. I don't know if you did, I'd like to do them in stages. Like I did MFL 10 maybe 2 weeks after the Super Bowl, just before rookies, and then did one right after the draft, just to see kind of where people are valued. Because if people have money involved, I think that's when you really find out where players are valued. That really helps you a lot. You got to be in, man. You got to be updating your rankings probably every 2 hours, right? Is that how it goes?
Yeah, pretty much this time of year is when the rankings are hot and heavy, and yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. I'm not like a super high volume MFL 10 guy, but I like doing the same kind of thing, different time periods, right after the draft, and then now it's kind of getting a little bit more like where if I'm not involved in one, I better get involved in another one, just to kind of take the temperature of where players are going. And that's really what I like to use them for the most part. And if I blow $10, I don't really care. But I kind of like seeing what everybody else is thinking of certain players at any given point in the off season. They're like mock drafts that matter.
Yeah, and even though $10, you probably couldn't even get a movie ticket in New York City for that. So it's like, and it's something for you to do and to keep it going. But this is a very critical question. So, what is the best pizza in New York City?
Oh.
Wow.
Don't ever talk pizza with New Yorkers or Chicagoans.
Oh well.
They're serious.
Let's not do a comparison. Your blood could be on the keyboard.
That's tough. Like New York City pizza for me, I'm probably not the best guy to ask, because I'm out on the island. I make it into the city maybe 4 times a year. And when I go in, the only pizza I remember eating is when I'm stuck at Penn Station trying to get back to the island. The train station pizza is freaking awesome. I'll tell you that. But not the best guy to ask the best pizza in New York City, because I'd give a a bad, uninformed answer. You'd have to ask like a real, Manhattanite for that.
Well, here's an important question: Yankees or Mets?
Definitely
You
Yankees.
see the hat?
Yeah, I'm one of the
No, it did. Oh,
rare.
I see it now.
Yeah,
Okay.
there it is.
Oh,
I'm
sure.
one of the rare Jets Yankees fans. Usually,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, yeah.
usually in New York, if you like
Yeah.
the Jets, you're usually a Mets fan, and if you like the Yankees, you're usually a Giants fan.
Giants
But
fan. Hmm.
yeah, I kind of cut against the grain with that. I think it's all about who your family is when you grow up.
Yeah, it's weird. I enjoy asking people how they became a fan of certain teams. For some it's geography, like New Yorkers or whatever. But like the Titans, of course, the Oilers in the beginning, they have fans. They had a lot of fans who came to the team through Eddie George and Steve McNair and so that's always a fun question.
An actually good defense.
Actually,
Well, I went to where I
Vince
went to
Young,
college.
the Longhorn fans. Of course, that was a dual thing.
I was a Dolphins fan for a while, and my best friend in college was a Jets fan. So we'd always make like little bets over the games. And I just remember the Marino game where he did the fake spike and threw that touchdown pass. But it seemed like they'd always have like these really high-scoring battles, and then nothing much would happen to the teams, in terms of playoffs. But hey, the
Yes.
games were good. They were
Yep.
evenly matched. Now this is a staple of the Ask Your Fantasy Football Expert question series, which I really have kind of retired, but we'll keep going in this show format. Football or sex? What do you think of more?
Wow. I guess as a guy that's been married for quite a few years now, maybe football, as horrible as that might sound. No, I don't know, man. It's a toss
It's
up.
a tough question. It is a hard question.
Especially, yeah, on the cuff like that. So I always say that
Zach, you've never answered. Which one is it for
probably
you?
football more often, but the thoughts about sex are probably more interesting. So I'll
Yeah,
just go with
Okay,
that.
there you go.
there you go.
I will leave it up to you, Phil, if you want to hang out for the rest of the show. It's totally up to you, but if you need to go, that is awesome as well. And if you do need to go, I do have to ask, do you have a number one draft pick like IPA?
Wow. Number one draft pick IPA. I got to look on the.
I want to ask you about your beer wall. So, how did that come about, and what are I want to read them all.
Yeah, I don't know if my camera's good enough. I'm just using like the webcam that's on my laptop here, but
I see the Pliny the Elder, because, yeah, some are distinct and others are hard to read, but,
What's the
it's
purple
okay.
one? I want to know what the purple one is.
oh, the purple one is haze. That's from
Is that a beta?
no,
No?
there isn't a Beta Purple Haze. That's not it
Yes, there
though.
is, but it doesn't look like that. It's not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's from Treehouse in I think it's Monson, Massachusetts.
Hmm. I've heard
Um,
very good things about that one.
yeah, they're really high on the beer advocate list. That was a great one. My personal favorite IPA. Wow. Um, I don't know if you could see the captain's daughter. It's like it's one of the small cans at the very
Mm.
end there. Um, it's really tiny. You can't see it, but it's from Rhode Island. It's from Gray Sale, and it's kind of like a non-publicized, doesn't get much love from the IPA community type beer, but there is, for my money, like definitely not a better smelling or tasting IPA
Wow.
that I've ever had. I love that one.
Okay.
Captain's Daughter from Gray Sale.
Very good. By the
Very
way, Phil,
nice.
Phil, I love your ink.
Oh, you can see it?
I got a glimpse of it as you were pointing. Full
Oh,
sleeve. Full sleeve.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
I do have a full sleeve. It's
Yeah. Nice.
yeah, that's one of my trademarks is regrettable tattoos that I instantly regret.
Don't regret it. I think they're beautiful. I
Thank
love them.
Yeah, they're well drawn at least. Sometimes is a bit of a problem when you go out into the workforce or you meet new people. They immediately have some preconceived notions sometimes if you're.
Well, the younger generation certainly doesn't. They're, all about it. And I think that stigma, if you can, for lack of a better word, is going away. And I've always enjoyed ink. I like it.
Yeah, me too. That's one of my things. So I'm.
Very nice.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, there isn't like a picture of Rex Ryan's face on there, right? So that's.
Well.
Thankfully not. There's I don't know.
You guys bonded over that, right? Eh?
There's teddy bears. There's eyeballs, skeletons, and watch parts, and all sorts of stuff going on this thing.
It's got to be a long-term investment of time, and yeah.
Yeah, it definitely was.
I've never had one, so I don't know any of the details about it.
Well, I hope I didn't embarrass you, but I noticed it and they caught my eye, and I'm a big fan.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Didn't embarrass me at all. Just, yeah, There's actually some Game of Thrones words hidden on there, too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Someday I would like to see it. I mean,
no spoilers.
In detail and look at it.
Yeah, there's
out of curiosity, because I do enjoy tattoos.
Yeah, there's the words on there that they're always saying where Arya was this season.
Ah, yes, that was a big thing on our show last week.
Oh yeah. Well, last week was the week where Arya killed her.
Yeah.
Person that she was kind of always feuding with for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
The Waif, yeah.
Now,
off camera, I wanted to see it. I wanted to see it happen because she was getting her butt kicked.
Now, I didn't see the last episode, so no spoilers. I'm an episode behind. I'm going to binge watch Sunday night and the season finale. I had been telling Zach that Arya needed to get her hind parts out from those freaks.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm surprised she didn't kill Dude. I would have totally killed Dude.
I thought it was a little weird that she went back there after she killed the Waif, that she would kind of like put herself back in Dodge with this more dangerous assassin, but, I guess he gave her the nod of approval and he was into it, so. You're in for it this week. This last one was one of the best episodes that the whole series has ever.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I sort of debated. I was like, should I watch it? Should I not? But I had promised Zach that I'm going to live tweet the season finale.
Oh.
And so I'm going to.
And many others.
Yeah.
There is no distraction. Like 2 weeks ago, the Penguins were winning the Stanley Cup during it, and then last week the Cavaliers were beating Golden State during, I think. So, but this week they set it up beautifully.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, sadly excited because then we won't have any more for a while.
Seriously, man, it's gonna be a rough go. So, Phil, if you do want to hang out, that's totally cool. I do have to do a little segment here with Sharona because it's important, and you might want to, I don't know, you might want to chime in. You could have some opinions here that'd be very important.
Are we going to? I just realized I did not know this because I have not been. You guys know that I had some dental surgery and I haven't been very active on social media or whatever. I just now found out that UT's chancellor, Jimmy Cheek, is resigning.
Oh, so they're going to pull a Baylor?
Well, he is going
to the SEC, so
teach apparently. But they were looking for a new chancellor.
I've noticed that, the big deal, when Missouri, the protesters got the president, fired. Why didn't they do what Baylor did? Ooh, we fired him, but we just give him another job that pays the same amount. I don't know, but yeah, that's college football for you.
I said, the Ken Starr thing is weird, but, he is very connected politically, and I just wonder if they think that's going, because they are going to get hit with Title IX bad stuff. There's no question.
Well, they had 5-10 years ago, they had a basketball player kill another basketball player, and they all but put him on basketball death penalty because they only played conference games 1 year, and it was a big deal that they made that comeback. They've had some issues there at Baylor, that's sure. And then see, I didn't even have that ready for we haven't done this in weeks. Hashtag over it or hashtag
Okay.
nah.
All right.
This is for Sharona. But, Phil, you might have some comments, so feel free to, come in when you need to.
Right.
So Colin Coward and Jason Whitlock having a show.
I can't say that I'm over it because I was never into it. But, if you watch that or intend to watch that, just unfollow me, stay away from me, don't have anything to do with me. Because you clearly are an idiot with no taste.
I have to say, I really don't know very much about Colin Coward, although he seems to have risen in the ranks really quickly. All I know is, for some reason, last night they had a 2-hour pregame show for the U.S. soccer game, like the prelude to a massacre. And he did this little 2-minute bit, and I was like, 5,000 YouTubers could have topped what he did, because it's all that, I don't care about soccer, but, oh, look, the team's doing well, so now I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and say we finally made it. And, of course, the team totally spit the bit last night, but it was a little annoying. And Jason Whitlock, I really don't even know what to say about him anymore. I feel like he hears the cash register signs every time he talks, so it's really hard to say what he really thinks about anything anymore. But, I don't know, Fox Sports, one of Sharona's probably least favorite stations. But we'll move on.
No, not probably. You can remove the probably.
So, hashtag over it, hashtag nah. U.S. soccer.
Nah. Listen, that soccer is even getting the viewership and the attention, and I know that they got spanked, but still, they made it that far. I think it's exciting and it's good.
Well, here's my true story. So last night I was doing another show, and when the show ended, I had gone downstairs and I had recorded the game on DVR, and I was all excited I was going to go watch it. The DVR failed to work. So as soon as I turned on the TV, Lionel Messi hit that free kick to make it 2-0. I'm like, oh, it's already over. Great. But I was so confused. Like, the U.S. jerseys in this tournament were like the worst things I've ever seen. Like, they had to. This gave me Titans flashbacks because they played as badly as the Titans have played the last 2 years, and they had these dumb like white jerseys with these light blue shoulder patches. And light blue is Argentina's color, and Argentina was wearing dark blue, which should be U.S.'s colors. So yeah, and the U.S. had these dark jerseys that had maroon and like blue shoulders. I'm like, where's maroon in the flag? I don't see that. So it was. I feel like a good result. The U.S. made it to the semifinals of a tournament, and they threw in that 17-year-old guy. I just hope he's not Freddie Adu. It was like they might as well go for it. And I don't know. What do you all think of this? The NFL doesn't do a third-place game, but soccer tournaments do. What do you think? Do you think Bill Belichick, what would he do in a third-place game? That would be really fun.
I can't decide if he would, like, totally put his bottom-end roster people in, or if he would, like, be running up the score trying to, I don't know.
I would probably side with the latter. I think he'd be running up the score trying to win.
I have 3 words: LeGarrette Blount Wildcat.
Yeah.
It's all good, and of course, over it or not, Cleveland love.
Over it.
You have nothing to say about basketball? You done with basketball?
No, I'm not. You guys.
I never started, so go for it.
I'm a Spurs fan, and watching Timmy Duncan retire was heartbreaking for me, and so and you knew it was going to happen, and I have not tweeted about the NBA much this season because of that. That was hard for me to watch him retire.
So the finals didn't really happen to you?
Basketball didn't happen to me this past season.
Yeah, I think me too. Like I was like, well, maybe I'll watch Game 7, and then like Game of Thrones ended, and I watched it late, and it was like, oh, it's already over. Thank you, Twitter, for telling me what happened. But and the full sleeve jerseys, those need to go. But hey, when you win a game, it doesn't matter. Like when the Steelers win in their Bumblebee jerseys, as ugly as those are, people are like, hey, we won in them, so they must be good. So let's keep rolling. Phil, do you think will the Jets ever pull out those Titans jerseys again? Because those
Yeah,
are pretty
the
rough.
Jets were the Titans, the original Titans. Your
Yeah,
friends.
I hope not. Those jerseys are awful.
They're horrid.
Yeah.
Yeah, the worst game
Who
was
has?
where the Jets
Here's a
were the
question.
Titans and the
Here's a
Titans were the
question
Oilers.
for you guys. Who has the best throwback jersey in the NFL?
It's got to be the Chargers, right? I mean, I
I
know
think the Chargers too. Yeah,
that's
I
probably the
agree.
stock answer, but
Yeah,
I mean, those are awesome.
they are awesome. I agree completely.
Everything AFL looks good. Even the Jets like green looks different. Like it looks like a brighter color in those old like
Well, then who has the
things.
worst?
Those weird like I'm a corpse Broncos jerseys they had one year. Didn't they had like a brown and gold look
Yeah,
that they
those
wore
are
for a year?
awful.
They just like and sometimes the Packers bring out some throwbacks that are
I was
horrible.
going to say the Packers because
Something
that's
tells
a,
me that the Titans are never wearing the Oilers again, which is sad because I feel like either the Texans or the Titans should get the Oilers colors because they're great. Titans colors are boring. The Texans colors are triple boring. How many red, white, and blue teams do we need in the NFL? But that's totally another
well,
subject.
their battle red is horrifying.
Yeah,
and
the
I like
pajama
red.
look is never good. But
Tampa Bay has some icky throwback
I
jerseys.
don't know. But the creamsicle is like unique at least.
Well, that's true.
Now they look like they're an arena league team with the strange numbers that are like I don't know. They're very strange. But Phil, are you involved? Are you in the Scott Fish Bowl?
Yes, yeah. Last year was my first year playing in it. Made the playoffs. Think I went out in the first round, even though those playoff scenarios were pretty confusing because there were so many teams.
They were.
I think I lost in the playoffs. I ended up in the third level of hell or whatever playoffs there were. But yeah, it is hard to do, and I almost feel for Scott because he sets up all these crazy leagues, and he's got to like get them confused, like the rules. Because it's not like this SFB is that different, but it is. I like the fact that it's like a 22-round draft because it gets really deep. Like someone drafted Brett Hundley in the league in the mock draft we're doing right now. And Chubb McGrubb, Robert Marino, he's doing these mock drafts, and I've gotten in 2 of them, and it really helps to see because quarterbacks, of course, when you do quarterback flex,
It does.
really one quarterback leagues are almost like boring because you can get the 28th quarterback and be okay. But in these start 2 quarterback leagues, in the 6th, 7th round, you're getting down to nothing. And of course, I think it's 0.25 per carry, so running backs get more weight.
Yes.
Half a point PPR, and now 1 point tight end PPR. So tight ends will be worth a little more. So that'll make it interesting. I think ultimately a league that's really fun is where the positions are all kind of equally weighted, and then people have different strategies. Like someone will take 5 receivers in a row to start, or 5 running backs in a row to start, and that's you have to do that, and especially with all the names involved, it is fun. But I'm happy to say that the interview series is back, and thank you, Sal Stefanali of the 2 quarterbacks. He's going to be posting the interviews because I'll be honest, I pretty much rewrote the questions I wrote last year and sent them to him, and now he's not sending them to everybody because last year my stupid idea was I can interview 360 people and post them to my website by myself, sure. And I got, about a third, I think, or maybe 100. And we haven't sent to everybody. So if anybody wants to be involved, reach out to me and I'll make sure you're included because I think it's fun it's always fun to ask questions and see what people are going to do. And
it is fun.
You can talk about the draft before and after, and of course Sharona loves drafting players who are about to tear their ACL in 3 weeks because the drafts start like a week after July 4th, and that's really early.
Phil, my standard mantra is if I draft you in one of my fantasy leagues, I apologize in advance if you get hurt because of my curse.
You didn't take Jordy Nelson and Kelvin Benjamin back-to-back, but it was close.
It was close. I have those guys. I was in one league where we had 5 slots, 5 IR slots, and I had 7 players at the end of the season to put on 8. And so I exceeded my IR slots. It was rough.
But what's amazing about Scott Fish Bowl is 22 rounds, no defense and kicker, which I love. And there are still guys on waiver wire, like Dion Lewis last year. Man, people were you get those kind of waiver bucks,
Yeah.
and people were basically putting all their money out for him or James Jones last year. James Jones was hot
James
stuff.
Jones went high. Like I put in a bid for him. I think I bid like $25 and got outbid. I thought that was pretty reasonable, and he had what 3 good games.
I seem
But
to
that,
remember James Jones being an every week starter on my Scott Fishbowl team last year. I just started.
What'd you pay for him? I'm curious.
I will never, ever, ever remember.
Uh,
TJ Hernandez just started a mock though for the Scott Fishbowl leagues. I'm doing my first one now.
oh, cool.
Yeah, I had the 6th pick and I went Odell Beckham right before we started.
There you go.
yeah, because running backs are highly valued, you can kind of get receivers dropping because the one league I mentioned earlier, I waited on quarterback, and I think my running backs and wide receivers are pretty good. But the second league I did, I had the 2nd pick. I actually took Ezekiel Elliott because I was like, yeah, rookie, young legs, lots of carries. And then at 211, I got Russell Wilson. I was like, thank you, I'll take that. So we'll see. I think it's good to do mocks because you try things. You go, well, if I take a quarterback early, what do I get in other positions?
Right.
If I wait on this position, what's available later?
It's definitely fun to experiment.
And you get a feeling of what's out there. So it is good. And let's just say, like Scott Fishbowl, so 480 total teams. So there are 40 12-team leagues, basically. And I don't know if it was as inspired as last year. You know, I think I'm in the leading ladies, one of those divisions. I'm in the Jennifer Aniston division, so watch out. I just know Liz Loza's in my division. That's the one name I remember. But yeah, watch out, Liz. And she has the number 1 pick, and I have the number 2. So there you go.
I've got to get on there and get all my stuff going. I've been awful.
In a couple weeks.
Oh,
You
did they
still
give
have
out?
time.
He gave out draft slots?
Yeah, all the divisions are set up and the draft picks are set up. But it does start July 11th, so I think that's
Okay.
You have like 2 weeks from Saturday.
I'm going to do that tomorrow. I've
Yeah,
set
ready.
aside, get ready, start being better.
That would make sense why TJ asked if I had a particular draft slot I wanted to start at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can kind of practice, because I think the first one I did was like pick 6, but after like the 3rd round, it doesn't really matter necessarily. Maybe you're at the end, but I had the 2nd pick in the other one just so I could, try it out and see what happens. But here's a question for Phil, because beer guys stick together. So what's like the most expensive like bomber you've ever bought? Was it worth it?
Well, I mean, around here, like a heady topper can, like if the local distributor does get them, which is rare for a local distributor in New York to get that beer because they don't sell it outside of Vermont. Like a pint can will be $10. So you'll pay $40 for a 4-pack of heady topper, and is that worth it? Now that I've drinking a bunch of it and I've had a bunch of other Vermont beers, I don't know that it is, because there are better beers than that. But yeah, I'd say anytime that you're paying more than $10 a pint, you're probably overpaying for whatever beer you're drinking.
Yeah, I was just curious because there's a brewery out of South Carolina called Westbrook, and they have a beer called Mexican Cake that's like really well known. It's like a stout, but it's brewed on habanero, so it's kind of a spicy stout.
Ooh.
And it made the
That sounds
rounds. Like I follow all the local stores like on Twitter, and they would get like their case, and then an hour later they'd be sold out. And there was one place that did a keg, but I didn't make it. And they had another beer called Leopold that I saw in the store. I just luckily, randomly got it. And it was $20 for the bomber. And it's a sour beer aged on these like sweet French wine casks. And it was like fermented on nectarines and peaches. So a very summery type beer. A very beer that Sharona make fun of me for drinking.
Yes.
So I cracked that
totally
sucker
would.
last week, and I shared it with a friend of mine who really likes the Goza type beers, the sour beers. And it was, I really enjoyed it, but I was like, $20? Do I want to go? Yeah, I could probably find a better beer, for less. But every once in a while you're like, I want to have this special beer and try it out. And, some beers you just can only get a certain amount of time of the year, and you're like, okay, I'm going to enjoy that and leave it at that. So I figured I'd share that with a fellow beer person. I actually have a friend in town who's doing a beer tasting next week, and he's going to try like 20 different kinds of beers. It's kind of dangerous in the middle of the week. I don't know if I can pull it off and actually work the next day, but it could be fun.
I did a moonshine tasting last week.
Oh gosh!
Oh God!
Wow, now that's dedication.
That was interesting. I totally thought of you because they had a moonshine that had like apple and zest, and I was like,
every moonshine is like 80%. It's like super boozy. So yeah, you just sniff it and you're drunk.
oh, it was like in little confessional cups, the little cups that you do the fate, and depending on what denomination are you. I'm Catholic, so we do the real thing. But yeah.
Wow, that's I wish you had periscoped that. That would have been a good one. So we've reached our hour. So Sharona, are you back on the show, or are you still in recovery mode?
I'm on this show.
What's your back
yeah,
talk?
I know. I said last week, and I got another email saying, I've been on hiatus, Phil, because there's just been a lot going on. But people are still listening, and my stats are like off the charts. And so, yes, I think that starting, this is June 22nd, the 1st of July, I will be back. That is the plan. Let's hope I don't crack a tooth or something, Knock on wood. Because, see, this last week, I don't know if you guys can see, I had a calamity taking the recyclables off.
Oh God!
I mean, it's like constant.
I cut my hand in a recycling bin. Yeah, recycling is not. It's not safe. It's dangerous.
It's not safe. You can't see the back of my head. See, it started falling out, and I went to grab, and it cut, and I bent down, and everything fell on the back of my head, and it was like crash, bang, boom, and yeah. But so that's the plan.
Stay safe till Sunday because
Right?
Season finale. It's big time. Any other writing happening, or are you just chilling?
No, that's the plan, is to come back full time 1st of July. My dad had his well, it was supposed to be a 3-month checkup, but it was getting him to the doctor's a little bit hard. Everything's looking good, and so I think if I can come back full time July 1st.
Sounds good. That's something, your voice we need right now. Come on.
I know, right? I miss it.
There's a lot happening in the world, and we need to hear your opinions.
We should have taught gun control. We'll have to, when Game of Thrones goes on hiatus and stuff.
After the show that's really violent, let's talk about violence. Yeah, I'm totally with you. So, Phil, where can people find you? I mean, I know football guys, but Twitter and all that.
You can find me on Twitter at PhilTWR, and I guess that's pretty much it besides football guys.
That's all you need.
Phil, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for being so kind about me having to cancel a few weeks ago.
No, nothing. And then, I had to cancel on you guys because Joe was coming out here, so I totally appreciate you guys taking an interest in me. Like I said, I don't know why anybody would.
You're a great guest.
Why would anybody want to watch a show with me on it? But thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. It was great talking to you.
You're very welcome.
Clearly, we brought you in so we could sneak in and get all your beers.
That's right.
Next time.
Recommendations.
I have posted a beer of the week, which usually is beer every 3 weeks kind of column, but I was talking about my trip to the local brewery Orpheus, which I have the special glass for their 2-year anniversary, and they had some very good beers and a couple of sours I've been drinking lately. That's good stuff. So ZachLawOnline.com and Zach_Law on Twitter. Really, that's all you need to know stuff. So thank you again, Sharona. Thanks, Phil, for being a special guest star. And as we like to say at the end of the show, kiss my grits.